Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time.
You know, that single phrase right there, a crisis of perception, that's really at the heart of what we're talking about today. It asks this really provocative question, right? What if our biggest global problems aren't actually about bad policies or failed technology? What if the real problem is a failure in how we see the world to begin with?
So the book we're diving into today is The Systems View of Life. It's by a physicist, Fritjof Capra, and a biochemist, Pier Luigi. And what they do is they pull together decades of research from all these different scientific fields to get at one of the most fundamental questions we're facing.
And that question is this: why do we keep trying to solve the living world's problems with machine-based thinking? I mean, just think about it for a second. We live on a living planet, right? We're part of a living economy. We build living communities. But so often, our solutions treat these incredibly complex, interconnected systems like they're just simple machines. You know, like you can just take them apart, fix a piece, and put it all back together. The book argues that this fundamental mismatch, that's the real source of our deepest crises.
Okay, so to really see the way forward, we've got to first understand the old map we're still trying to use. It's like we're using a blueprint that shaped the modern world, but, as Capra and Luisi argue, it's now dangerously, seriously out of date.
So, for centuries, really, thanks to pioneers like Newton and Descartes, science taught us to see the world in a very specific way. Kind of like what you see on the left here, a machine made up of a bunch of separate parts. And the thinking was, if you want to understand something, you just take it apart. That's the mechanistic worldview in a nutshell. It's all about objects and linear cause and effect. But what if the world isn't like that at all? What if it's actually much more like the view on the right, a totally interconnected network?
And, well, what's the result of all of this machine thinking? We end up treating huge, messy problems like climate change, economic instability, and public health as if they're all separate issues in separate little boxes. So we come up with these fragmented solutions that, more often than not, just push the problem somewhere else. And that's because this whole view, it completely misses the most important thing about the living world.
All right, so if that's the old, outdated map, then what's the new one? The book proposes a pretty radical shift. We're not just talking about new solutions here, but a change in our very perception of what life is. So the book's core argument basically flips that old view completely on its head. It says the material world isn't made of basic building blocks. Not at all. Instead, what if it's a network of inseparable relationships where absolutely nothing and no one truly exists in isolation? Now, to really get this, we need a whole new way of thinking. It's called systems thinking. So instead of taking things apart to understand them, the classic approach of analysis, systems thinking is all about putting things back into the context of a larger whole. The focus completely shifts from the individual parts to the organization of the entire system. And this reveals something really profound about life itself. Think about it. A machine has to be built from the outside, right? But a living system, and this could be anything from a single cell to a massive forest, it's constantly creating and regenerating itself from within. The order isn't imposed on it, it just emerges, spontaneously. Life, it turns out, is a process of continuous self-organization.
So that's a lot to take in. How do we even begin to visualize this new way of seeing? Well, the book gives us a really powerful metaphor to help make this shift from parts to patterns feel a lot more concrete. And that metaphor is the web of life.
And look, the web of life isn't just some nice poetic phrase. It's literally the fundamental pattern of all living systems. You see it everywhere. Cells form tissues, tissues form organs, organisms form ecosystems. At every single level, you find the exact same essential structure, networks that are nested inside of other networks.
And the most crucial point here is interdependence. It's simple, really. If you pull on just one single thread in a web, the entire structure moves. It responds. And that's exactly why you can't understand any single part in isolation. A tiny change in one place, no matter how small it seems, can be felt all the way across the entire network.
This incredible interconnectedness leads to this strange and really powerful property called nonlinearity. Okay, so in a simple machine, if you push twice as hard, you get twice the result. It's predictable. But in a living network, a tiny little nudge might do nothing at all, or it could trigger a massive system-wide avalanche of change. This is what scientists call a bifurcation point. That's that exact moment where one small push creates this huge, unpredictable shift. You know the saying, the straw that broke the camel's back? Or how a single spark can start a forest fire? That's nonlinearity in action.
So, what does all of this mean for us, right here, right now? Because this shift in perception, it's not just some abstract academic exercise. No way. It completely reframes how we understand our global crises and what the path towards a sustainable future actually looks like.
And it forces us to ask a whole new kind of question. If life really is an interconnected web, then sustainability isn't about running around trying to fix a few broken parts. It's about something much deeper, understanding the health and resilience of the entire system.
And when you start to see things from this perspective, our biggest problems start to look very different. You see them for what they really are, symptoms. Symptoms of that original crisis in perception. The crazy idea of infinite growth on a finite planet, our fragmented policies for problems that are deeply interconnected. All of it, it's all the result of us trying to force our linear machine-based thinking onto the messy, nonlinear reality of a living planet.
And that brings us to what might be the book's most powerful takeaway. Sustainability, it isn't an engineering problem. We don't need to go out and build a better machine. Instead, we need to become what the authors call ecologically literate. We actually have to learn from the wisdom of nature's own networks. You know, the ones that have successfully sustained life for more than 3 billion years. The real challenge, then, isn't to control the web. It's to learn how to nurture it.
For the full long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description.
If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.